First contact Vasco. The massive space station Harmony hung in the inky void, its sleek metallic curves gleaming in the light of a distant star. Inside, representatives from 100 different alien species bustled through corridors, their varied forms a testament to the diversity of galactic life. Today, however, an unprecedented tension filled the air. Humanity, the infamous Deathworlders, were finally joining the Galactic Confederation. Captain Zura Chen stood at the helm of the Earth ship Curiosity, her dark eyes fixed on the approaching station. Behind her, the bridge crew worked in focused silence, each acutely aware of the weight of this moment. Zara's second-in-command, Lieutenant Marcus Okafor, approached with a datapad in hand. Final approach vector confirmed, Captain. Marcus reported, his usually jovial tone subdued. Station control sounds. Nervous. Zara nodded, a wry smile tugging at her lips. Can't blame them. We're the bogeymen of the galaxy, after all. As the Curiosity docked with a gentle thud, Zara addressed her crew. Remember, we're here as ambassadors. Our job is to show the Confederation that humans aren't the monsters they think we are. Stay calm, stay friendly, and for the love of all that's holy, try not to accidentally terrify anyone. The airlock hissed open, revealing a reception committee of aliens. At the forefront stood Ambassador Xlixix, a tall, willowy being with iridescent skin and 4 arms. Flanking the ambassador were representatives from various species, each more exotic than the last. Zara stepped forward, hand extended in the universal gesture of greeting. Ambassador Xlixix, on behalf of Earth and humanity, we're honored to. Her words were cut short by a cacophony of alarm squeaks, whistles, and gurgles as the alien delegation collectively recoiled. Xlixix's large, compound eyes widened in what Zara could only interpret as fear. Apologies, Captain Chen, Xlixix said, voice quavering. We were not prepared for your robustness. Zara blinked, confused. She and her crew were of average build by Earth standards. I'm not sure I understand, Ambassador. A small, gelatinous being near the back of the group suddenly liquefied, reforming into a quivering puddle. Another alien, resembling a sentient plant, seemed to wilt visibly. Xlixix's 4 hands rummed together nervously. Your species, you come from a high-gravity world with extreme temperature variations, toxic atmospheric components, and constant tectonic instability. By galactic standards, you are formidable. Marcus leaned in, whispering, I think they're scared of us, Captain. Zara nodded slightly, mind racing. This wasn't the welcome she'd expected, but she was determined to make it work. Ambassador Xlixix, I assure you, we mean no harm. We're here in the spirit of peace and cooperation. The ambassador's posture relaxed slightly. Of course. Please, follow me to the conference room. We have much to discuss. As they walked through the station's winding corridors, Zora couldn't help but notice the reactions of other aliens they passed. Some pressed themselves against walls, others darted into side passages. A group of small, furry creatures actually climbed the ceiling to avoid crossing their path. In the conference room, Zara and her team sat across from the alien delegation. The chairs, designed for a variety of body types, creaked ominously under the human's weight. Now then, Xlixix began, let us discuss the terms of humanity's probationary membership in the Confederation. First and foremost, we must address the unique challenges your species presents. Zara leaned forward, eager to dispel misconceptions. We understand your concerns, Ambassador. Humanity has a long history of adapting to challenges and overcoming adversity. These traits that make us seem dangerous to you are the very things that drive us to explore, to innovate, and to seek out new friendships across the stars. A murmur rippled through the alien delegates. One, a crystalline being that sparkled with inner light, spoke up. But your history, it's filled with conflict, with war. How can we trust that you won't bring such violence to the galactic stage? Marcus stepped in, his voice warm and reassuring. It's true, We've had our share of conflicts, but we've also learned from them. Our history has taught us the value of peace, of working together to overcome challenges that are bigger than any one nation or planet. Zara nodded, building on Marcus's point. Take our first steps into space, for example. Once we were divided, racing against each other to reach the stars. But we soon realized that space exploration required global cooperation. It was only by working together that we achieved faster-than-light travel and made it here today. The plant-like alien, who had regained some of its vigor, waved a leafy appendage. But your physical capabilities, they are so far beyond our own. How can we be sure you won't accidentally harm us? Zara smiled gently. We've spent years preparing for this moment, studying the physiologies of known galactic species. Our exosuits, she gestured to the sleek, form-fitting suits worn by the human delegation, are designed to limit our strength to safe levels. We're here as friends, not conquerors. As the meeting progressed, the initial fear began to give way to curiosity. The aliens peppered the humans with questions about Earth, human culture, and their journey through space. Zara and her team answered patiently, their enthusiasm for sharing knowledge gradually infectious. Hours later, as the meeting drew to a close, Ambassador Xlixix's posture had completely changed. The initial fear was replaced by a cautious optimism. Captain Chen, I must admit, when we first received word of humanity's application to join the Confederation, many of us were skeptical, but your words today have given us much to consider. Zara stood, careful not to move too quickly. Thank you, Ambassador. We understand that trust takes time to build. We're prepared to take things slowly, to prove ourselves as valuable allies and friends. As they prepared to leave the conference room, alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. Red lights flashed, and a computerized voice echoed through the corridors. Warning: structural integrity compromised in Sector 7. All personnel evacuate immediately. The alien delegates froze, panic visible in their varied physiologies. But Zara and her team sprang into action without hesitation. Ambassador, Zara said, her voice calm but authoritative. We can help. My crew includes engineers and disaster response specialists. With your permission, we'd like to assist in addressing this crisis. Xlixix hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Yes, please. Our own response teams may struggle in the affected area. It's a high-gravity manufacturing sector. Zara turned to her team. Marcus, you're with me. Dr. Patel, coordinate with the station's medical team. Lieutenant Kim, work with station security to manage the evacuation. As the humans rushed towards the crisis, leaving the stunned alien delegation behind, Ambassador Xlixix watched with a mixture of awe and trepidation. Perhaps, the ambassador thought, these Deathworlders might just be the allies the galaxy needed after all. The first day of humanity's introduction to the galactic community had been far from smooth, but as Zara and her team raced to face an unexpected challenge, she couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope. This crisis might just be the opportunity they needed to show the true spirit of humanity, not as fearsome conquerors, but as steadfast friends in times of need. Culinary catastrophe. The crisis in Sector 7 had been averted, thanks in large part to the quick thinking and physical capabilities of the human crew. Captain Zora Chen and her team had worked tirelessly alongside the station's emergency responders, their strength and endurance proving invaluable in the high-gravity environment. As the dust settled, a newfound respect for the humans began to spread through the station. A week later, the Harmony's grand dining hall buzzed with anticipation. In celebration of the successful crisis management and as a gesture of goodwill, the human delegation had offered to host a cultural exchange dinner. Aliens of all shapes and sizes filed in, a mix of curiosity and apprehension evident in their movements. Zara stood at the entrance, greeting each guest with a warm smile. She had forgone her exosuit for the evening, opting instead for a formal Earth uniform. Welcome, she said to a group of jellyfish-like beings that floated by. We're so glad you could join us. Inside, tables were arranged in a horseshoe shape, laden with an array of Earth delicacies. Lieutenant Marcus Okafor proudly presided over the spread, explaining each dish to the curious aliens. "And this," Marcus said, gesturing to a large red crustacean, "is what we call a lobster. It's a popular seafood dish on Earth." A gasp rippled through the gathered aliens. Ambassador Xlixix, who had been cautiously sniffing at a bowl of clam chowder, recoiled in shock. "Seafood? You mean you consume aquatic life forms?" Marcus nodded, oblivious to the growing tension. "Oh yes, Earth's oceans are full of delicious creatures. We've got fish, shrimp, crab, octopus, you name it." The dining hall erupted into chaos. The jellyfish beings let out high-pitched squeals and darted for the exit. A group of amphibious aliens turned a sickly shade of green, while others simply stood in stunned silence. Zara rushed over, sensing the situation spiraling out of control. "Is everything all right?" she asked, concern etched on her face. Xlixix's forearms were a blur of agitated movement. "Captain Chen, please tell me this is some sort of misunderstanding. Surely you don't actually eat these creatures." Realization dawned on Zara. In their excitement to share Earth culture, they had overlooked a crucial detail: the galactic community's relationship with aquatic life. I'm afraid there's no misunderstanding, Ambassador. On Earth, seafood is quite common. But I see now that this might be problematic for some of our guests." "Problematic?" squeaked a small, furry alien who had climbed onto a chair to avoid the spilled chowder on the floor. "Those are sentient beings in many parts of the galaxy." Marcus, looking bewildered, tried to salvage the situation. "But these aren't sentient. They're just animals." His words only seemed to make things worse. A crystalline being shattered into 1,000 glittering pieces, reforming a moment later in a distinctly agitated shape. "Just animals. Next you'll be telling us you eat plant life too." The humans exchanged guilty glances, and the room fell into an uncomfortable silence. Zara took a deep breath, her mind racing to find a way to salvage the evening. "Everyone, please, let's all calm down. Clearly, we've made a terrible mistake, and for that, we sincerely apologize." She gestured for her crew to begin removing the offending dishes. "It seems we have much to learn about each other's cultures and values. Perhaps we could use this misunderstanding as an opportunity for dialogue." Slowly, tentatively, the aliens began to relax. Xlixix, ever the diplomat, nodded in agreement. Yes, that would be enlightening. Though perhaps we should start with something less controversial." Zara smiled gratefully. "Of course. Dr. Patel, would you mind sharing some information about Earth's agricultural practices? I believe we have some fruit and vegetable dishes that might be more universally appealing." As Dr. Patel began explaining the concept of farming to the fascinated aliens, Zara pulled Marcus aside. "Well, that could have gone better," she muttered. Marcus ran a hand over his face. "I'm sorry, Captain. I should have realized." "We all should have," Zara interrupted gently. "We've been so focused on proving we're not dangerous that we forgot how different our cultures really are." As the evening progressed, the initial shock of the seafood incident gave way to a lively, if sometimes awkward, cultural exchange. The humans found themselves fielding questions about every aspect of Earth life, from the mundane to the bizarre. "So you deliberately ingest beverages that impair your cognitive functions for fun?" asked a multi-eyed being, trying to wrap its numerous brains around the concept of alcohol. "And you willingly hurl yourselves down frozen mountains with planks strapped to your feet?" inquired another, looking both horrified and intrigued by the description of skiing. Each revelation about human life seemed to simultaneously terrify and fascinate their alien guests. The humans' ability to eat almost anything, their love of extreme sports, even their sleep cycles were subjects of intense scrutiny. As the night wore on, Zara found herself in a quiet corner with Ambassador Xlixix. The alien diplomat's initial fear had been replaced by a look of thoughtful consideration. "I must admit, Captain Chen," Slick said, gesturing with two of its four arms, "your species continues to surprise us. Just when we think we understand you, you reveal another layer of complexity." Zara nodded, sipping a glass of synthesized water that was safe for both human and alien consumption. "I imagine we seem quite strange to you." "Strange, yes," Slick agreed, "but also fascinating. Your adaptability, your resilience, these are traits that could be valuable to the Confederation if properly understood and applied." A spark of hope ignited in Zora's chest. "Then you believe there's still a place for humanity in the galactic community?" Slick's compound eyes shimmered in what Zora had come to recognize as amusement. "Oh, most certainly, though I suspect integrating your species will be an interesting challenge. Tell me, Captain, how do you humans feel about diplomatic postings on gas giant planets?" Zara laughed, the tension of the evening finally breaking. "I'm sure we'd find a way to make it work, Ambassador. Humans have a saying, where there's a will, there's a way." As the dinner party began to wind down, Zora couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment, despite the earlier mishap. Yes, they had made mistakes, but they had also opened doors for genuine cultural exchange. The road ahead would be challenging, filled with misunderstandings and surprises on both sides. But as she looked around at the mixed groups of humans and aliens now chatting animatedly, she felt a surge of optimism. The humans' first steps into the galactic community might have been clumsy, but they were steps forward nonetheless. And if there was one thing humans excelled at, it was learning from their mistakes and pressing on. As Captain Zora Chen bid goodnight to the last of the alien guests, she couldn't help but smile. The adventure was only just beginning. Accidental heroes. The weeks following the cultural exchange dinner had been a whirlwind of diplomatic meetings, cultural briefings, and technological exchanges. Despite the occasional faux pas, the human delegation had begun to find its footing on Harmony Station. However, the galactic community's fascination with humanity's Deathworld traits continued to be a source of both admiration and concern. Captain Zora Chen stood in the station's main control room, surrounded by a sea of holographic displays and alien technicians. She had been invited to observe the day-to-day operations of Harmony, a gesture of growing trust from the Confederation leadership. "As you can see, Captain," Ambassador Slick explained, waving its four arms at the displays, "Harmony is more than just a diplomatic hub. It's a nexus of galactic trade, scientific research, and cultural exchange." Zara nodded, her eyes darting from screen to screen, taking in the vast array of information. "It's impressive, Ambassador. The level of cooperation required to maintain a station like this is remarkable." Suddenly, a series of alarms blared through the control room. Red lights flashed, and the holographic displays flickered ominously. Alien technicians scrambled to their stations, a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and electronic chatter filling the air. "What's happening?" Zara asked, instinctively moving closer to Slick as if to protect the ambassador. Slick's iridescent skin paled. It's the station's gravity generators. They're malfunctioning." As if on cue, Zara felt a sickening lurch in her stomach. The artificial gravity fluctuated wildly, sending lighter aliens floating towards the ceiling, while heavier species struggled to remain upright. "Can't you shut them down?" Zara asked, gripping a nearby console to steady herself. A crystalline alien technician chimed in, its voice resonating like struck glass. "Negative. The system is locked. If we can't stabilize it soon, the fluctuations could tear the station apart." Zara's mind raced. This was beyond anything they had prepared for, but she knew they had to act fast. "Ambassador, I need to get my team up here. We might be able to help." Slick nodded frantically, all four hands clutching various parts of its workstation. Yes, of course. Do whatever you can." Within minutes, Zora's crew arrived, led by Lieutenant Marcus Okafor, and Dr. Aisha Patel. They stumbled into the control room, fighting against the erratic gravity. "Status report," Zora barked, slipping easily into command mode. Marcus steadied himself against a wall. "It's chaos out there, Captain. Multiple injuries reported, mostly from falls and collisions. The station's medical teams are overwhelmed." Dr. Patil added, "Many species are experiencing severe physical distress from the gravity changes. Their bodies simply aren't designed to handle these fluctuations." Zara turned to the alien technicians. "What exactly is causing this malfunction?" The crystalline being responded, its facets reflecting the flashing alert lights. "The primary control node is located in a high-gravity maintenance shaft. With the fluctuations, none of our repair crews can reach it safely." A determined look crossed Zora's face. "But we can. Marcus, you're with me. Dr. Patel, coordinate with the station's medical teams. Help however you can." Ambassador Xlixix's compound eyes widened. "Captain, you can't be serious. Even for Deathworlders like yourselves, the risk is acceptable." Zara finished. "Ambassador, right now we're the best chance this station has. Trust us." Without waiting for a response, Zara and Marcus sprinted out of the control room. They navigated the chaotic corridors, dodging floating debris and panicked aliens. Finally, they reached the access hatch to the maintenance shaft. "Ready?" Zara asked, her hand on the hatch controls. Marcus grinned, despite the gravity pressing him down. "Born ready, Captain." They plunged into the shaft. Immediately, they felt the crushing weight of high gravity, far beyond even Earth's standards. Their specialized training kicked in as they fought against their own body weight, inching forward. "There," Marcus grunted, pointing to a pulsing, crystalline structure ahead. "That must be the control node." Zara nodded, conserving her breath. They crawled forward, muscles straining against the immense gravitational force. Finally, they reached the node. Its surface flickered erratically, mirroring the station's gravity fluctuations. "Any ideas?" Zora panted, her fingers brushing the node's surface. Marcus examined the alien technology, his engineering background kicking in. "It's overloading. We need to realign the power flow. But this tech, it's beyond anything I've seen." Zara's mind raced. They hadn't come this far to fail now. "Wait," she said, an idea forming. "Remember that Jorian puzzle box Ambassador Xlixix showed us? The one that responded to neural patterns?" Marcus's eyes lit up with understanding. "You think this works on the same principle?" "Worth a shot," Zara replied. "On 3, we both focus on stabilizing the flow. Ready?" They placed their hands on the node. 1, 2, 3. Both humans closed their eyes, concentrating with all their might on the image of smooth, stable energy flow. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the node's erratic pulsing began to calm. The crushing gravity eased, settling back into its normal range. In the control room, cheers erupted as systems stabilized. Ambassador Xlixix stared at the readouts in disbelief. They did it. These humans actually did it. Zara and Marcus emerged from the maintenance shaft, exhausted but triumphant. They were met with a chorus of alien vocalizations, the galactic equivalent of applause. Ambassador Xlixix approached, all 4 arms outstretched in a gesture of deep respect. "Captain Chen, Lieutenant Okafor, you've saved not just this station, but thousands of lives. The Confederation owes you a debt of gratitude." Zara smiled tiredly. "We're just glad we could help, Ambassador. It's what we came here to do, to be part of this community, to contribute." As medical teams tended to the injured and repair crews began assessing the damage, a palpable shift could be felt in the air. Aliens who had once recoiled at the sight of humans now looked at them with newfound respect and even admiration. Dr. Patil approached, her exosuit spattered with various alien fluids. "Captain, you won't believe this. The medical teams are asking if we can train them in human emergency response techniques. They're calling our adaptability a galactic asset. Marcus chuckled, wincing slightly at his sore muscles. From scary Deathworlders to galactic asset. Not bad for a few weeks' work, eh, Captain? Zara nodded, a mix of pride and humility washing over her. It's a start, Marcus. A very good start. As the crisis subsided and the station hummed back to life, Zara couldn't help but feel a sense of belonging. They had come to Harmony as outsiders, feared and misunderstood. But in facing this challenge, they had proven that humanity's unique traits, their adaptability, their resilience, their willingness to face danger head-on, were not things to be feared, but valuable contributions to the galactic community. The road ahead would still have its challenges, its misunderstandings, and its moments of culture shock. But as Captain Zora Chen looked out at the diverse array of alien species working together in the aftermath of the crisis, she knew that humanity had taken a giant leap forward in finding its place among the stars. The accidental heroes of Harmony Station had opened a new chapter in human-alien relations, one that promised a future of cooperation, mutual respect, and shared adventures in the vast, wondrous expanse of the galaxy. Unexpected allies. In the weeks following the gravity generator crisis, the atmosphere on Harmony Station had shifted dramatically. The human delegation, once viewed with fear and suspicion, now found themselves the center of attention for entirely different reasons. Aliens from across the galaxy sought out the humans, eager to learn about their unique abilities and perspectives. Captain Zora Chen sat in her temporary office, reviewing reports on her datapad. The door chimed, and she looked up to see Lieutenant Marcus Okafor enter, a bemused expression on his face. "You're not going to believe this, Captain," Marcus said, shaking his head. "The GISCT delegation just asked if we could teach them how to play football. They think it's some kind of advanced combat training." Zara couldn't help but laugh. "Well, they're not entirely wrong. Did you explain that it's just a game?" "I tried," Marcus replied, grinning. "But they seemed even more impressed when I told them we do it for fun. I think we might have accidentally started a galactic sports craze." Their conversation was interrupted by another chime. This time, it was Dr. Aisha Patel who entered, looking both excited and overwhelmed. "Captain, Lieutenant," she greeted them. "I just come from a fascinating meeting with the station's xenobiology team. They're absolutely astounded by human physiology. Our ability to eat such a wide variety of foods, our endurance, even our sleep cycles, they're calling it a breakthrough in adaptive biology." Zara nodded, a mix of pride and concern washing over her. "That's great news, Doctor. But let's make sure we don't become lab specimens in the process. We're here as allies and friends, not test subjects." Before Dr. Patel could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Red lights flashed, and a computerized voice echoed through the corridors. "Warning. Security breach in diplomatic sector. All personnel on high alert." The three humans exchanged quick glances before springing into action. They rushed out of the office and towards the diplomatic sector, dodging panicked aliens along the way. As they approached, they saw a tense standoff unfolding. Two alien species, the insectoid Vrekna and the aquatic Mullary, were facing each other, weapons drawn. Ambassador Xlixix stood between them, all four arms raised in a placating gesture. "What's the situation, Ambassador?" Zara asked as they arrived, her voice low and calm. Xlixix's compound eyes darted nervously between the human delegation and the armed aliens. "A long-standing territorial dispute has escalated. The Vrekna accused the Mullary of encroaching on their colony worlds. The Mullary claim they're fleeing environmental destruction caused by Vrekna mining operations." Marcus whistled low. "Talk about a powder keg." Zara nodded, her mind racing. This was far beyond their official capacity as Earth's representatives, but she knew they couldn't stand by and watch the situation deteriorate. "Ambassador," she said, her voice filled with determination, "with your permission, we'd like to try and mediate this dispute." Slick6's iridescent skin rippled with surprise. You? But this conflict predates your species' entry into galactic affairs by centuries. Exactly, Zara replied. We're neutral parties. And sometimes, a fresh perspective is exactly what's needed. After a moment's hesitation, Slick6 nodded. Very well, Captain. But please be careful. Both species are known for their volatile tempers. Zara, Marcus, and Dr. Patil approached the standoff slowly, hands raised to show they were unarmed. Representatives of the Vrekna and Mulari, Zara called out, her voice firm but non-threatening. I am Captain Zara Chen of Earth. We ask for the opportunity to hear both sides of this dispute and to offer our assistance in finding a peaceful resolution. The insectoid Vrekna clicked their mandibles aggressively. What could primitive Deathworlders possibly understand about our ancient conflict? The Mulari, their amphibious bodies glistening under the station's lights, gurgled in agreement. This dispute is beyond your comprehension, humans. Dr. Patil stepped forward, her scientific curiosity piqued. Perhaps that's exactly why we can help. We bring no preconceptions, no historical biases. We only wish to understand and assist. Marcus added, plus, where we come from, we've had plenty of experience with territorial disputes and environmental issues. Sometimes it takes an outsider to see solutions that those involved might miss. Slowly, cautiously, both alien groups lowered their weapons. The next few hours were intense, filled with heated arguments, complex historical grievances, and technological disputes that stretched the humans' understanding to its limits. But they persevered, asking questions, offering suggestions, and most importantly, listening. As the negotiations progressed, Zara found herself drawing on Earth's history, relaying tales of environmental disasters, resource conflicts, and the hard-won lessons of cooperation. On our world, she explained, we learned, often the hard way, that our fates are interconnected. The actions of one nation or corporation could have devastating consequences for the entire planet. It took us a long time, but we finally understood that working together wasn't just morally right, it was necessary for survival. The Vrekna and Mulari listened, their initial hostility gradually giving way to grudging interest. Dr. Patil contributed her expertise, proposing innovative solutions for sustainable mining and environmental restoration based on cutting-edge Earth technologies. Marcus, drawing on his engineering background, suggested ways to optimize resource usage that could benefit both species. As the hours wore on, the impossible began to seem possible. The Vrekna and Mulari, guided by human mediation, started to find common ground. They agreed to a joint scientific mission to assess the environmental damage and explore restoration possibilities. The Vrekna offered to share their advanced mining techniques with the Mulari in exchange for access to underwater resources that had previously been off-limits. By the time the alarms were finally silenced, a framework for a lasting peace had been established. The humans stood back, exhausted but proud, as the Vrekna and Mulari representatives signed a preliminary agreement. Ambassador Slick6 approached, its four arms moving in complex patterns of astonishment and respect. Captain Chen, we, the entire diplomatic corps, is in awe. You've achieved in hours what we failed to accomplish in decades. Zara smiled tiredly. We just offered a fresh perspective, Ambassador. The real credit goes to the Vrekna and Mulari for being willing to listen and compromise. As news of the successful negotiations spread throughout Harmony Station, the human delegation found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of alien interest and appreciation. Species that had once viewed them with fear now sought their advice on a variety of issues, from technological challenges to cultural misunderstandings. Later, as Zara, Marcus, and Dr. Patil gathered in their shared common room, a sense of accomplishment mixed with wonder settled over them. You know, Marcus mused, when we set out on this mission, I never imagined we'd end up as galactic peace brokers. Dr. Patil nodded, her eyes bright with excitement. It's fascinating how our Deathworld experiences have become an asset, Our history of overcoming adversity, of adapting to challenges. It's exactly what's needed out here. Zara leaned back, a thoughtful expression on her face. We've made real progress, but this is just the beginning. We've shown the galaxy what humanity can offer, but we've also taken on a huge responsibility. We need to live up to the trust they're placing in us. As the artificial night cycle deepened outside their windows, the three humans contemplated the path ahead. They had come to Harmony Station as outsiders, feared for their Deathworld origins. Now they found themselves unexpected allies to a multitude of alien species, their unique perspectives and abilities in high demand. The journey ahead would be challenging, filled with new responsibilities and unforeseen obstacles. But as Captain Zora Chen looked at her team, she felt a surge of confidence. Whatever the galaxy might throw at them, she knew that humanity's greatest strengths, adaptability, resilience, and an unwavering spirit of cooperation, would see them through. The accidental diplomats of Earth had found their place among the stars, not as conquerors or warriors, but as mediators, problem solvers, and friends to a diverse galactic community. It was a role none of them had expected, but one they were increasingly eager to embrace. A new understanding. The Grand Assembly Hall of Harmony Station buzzed with anticipation. Representatives from hundreds of alien species filled the tiered seating, their diverse forms creating a living tapestry of galactic life. At the center of it all stood Captain Zora Chen and her team, still somewhat in awe of the journey that had brought them to this moment. It had been 6 standard galactic months since the humans had first arrived on Harmony Station. In that time, they had averted disasters, brokered peace deals, and challenged long-held assumptions about what it meant to be a Deathworlder in a galaxy of relatively peaceful species. Ambassador Xlixix approached the podium, its iridescent skin shimmering with barely contained excitement. All 4 of its arms raised for silence, and the din in the hall gradually subsided. Esteemed representatives of the Galactic Confederation, Xlixix began, its voice amplified throughout the chamber. We stand at a historic crossroads. When the species known as humans first petitioned to join our community, many of us reacted with fear and suspicion. Their homeworld, Earth, was classified as a death world, a planet so harsh and unforgiving that it seemed impossible for a sentient, peaceful species to evolve there. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Many of the aliens present remembered their initial reactions to the humans all too well. And yet, Xlixix continued, in the short time they have been among us, these humans have proven themselves to be not just allies, but invaluable members of our galactic community. They have brought fresh perspectives to age-old conflicts, innovative solutions to technological challenges, and a spirit of adaptability that has inspired us all. Zara felt a swell of pride as she listened to Xlixix's words. She glanced at Marcus and Dr. Patel, seeing her own emotions reflected in their faces. Today, Xlixix announced, we gather to formally recognize humanity's contributions and to vote on their full membership in the Galactic Confederation. But first, let us hear from Captain Zora Chen, who has led the human delegation with wisdom and courage. As Zara stepped up to the podium, she took a deep breath. This was the moment they had been working towards since they first set foot on Harmony Station. Distinguished representatives of the Galactic Confederation, Zara began, her voice steady and clear. On behalf of humanity, I thank you for this opportunity. When we first arrived here, we were as uncertain and apprehensive as many of you were about us. We came from a world that had known conflict, that had faced environmental disasters and technological challenges that nearly destroyed us. But it was through overcoming these trials that we learned our greatest strengths: adaptability, resilience, and the power of cooperation. She paused, looking out at the sea of alien faces, where once she had seen fear and suspicion. She now saw interest, respect, and even admiration. We don't pretend to have all the answers, Zora continued. Our history is far from perfect, and we still have much to learn. But we are eager to share what we know, to learn from all of you, and to work together in facing the challenges that lie ahead. The galaxy is vast and full of wonders, but it also holds dangers that we can only hope to overcome by standing united. As Zara spoke, holographic displays around the hall came to life, showing images of humans working alongside various alien species. There were scenes from the gravity generator crisis, the diplomatic negotiations between the Vrekna and Mulari, and countless other moments where human ingenuity and determination had made a difference. In our short time here, Zara said, her voice swelling with emotion, we've seen incredible acts of cooperation and kindness from species across the galaxy. We've forged friendships that transcend our biological differences, and we've come to understand that the very traits that made us Deathworlders, our adaptability, our drive to overcome challenges, are the same traits that can help us all build a better future together. As Zara concluded her speech, the assembly hall erupted in a cacophony of alien vocalizations, the galactic equivalent of thunderous applause. Species that had once recoiled at the mere mention of humans were now cheering their inclusion into the galactic community. Ambassador Xlixix returned to the podium, visibly moved by Zora's words. "Thank you, Captain Chen. And now, esteemed representatives, we shall vote on humanity's full membership in the Galactic Confederation." The next few minutes were tense as the votes were cast and tallied. Zara, Marcus, and Dr. Paddle stood together, hands clasped in a very human gesture of hope and solidarity. Finally, Xlixix raised all 4 arms for attention. "The votes have been counted," the ambassador announced. "By an overwhelming majority, humanity has been granted full membership in the Galactic Confederation." The hall exploded with joy. Aliens of all shapes and sizes rushed to congratulate the human delegation. In that moment, all fears of Deathworlders were forgotten, replaced by genuine excitement for the future they would build together. As the celebration continued around them, Zara turned to her team. "We did it," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "We really did it." Marcus grinned, his eyes suspiciously moist. "Not bad for a bunch of scary Deathworlders, eh?" Dr. Paddle laughed, wiping away a tear. "Just think of all we'll learn, all we'll discover together. The scientific possibilities alone are staggering." As the night wore on, Zara found a quiet moment to slip away to a viewing port. She stared out at the star-studded expanse of space, marveling at how far they had come and the journey that still lay ahead. Ambassador Xlixix joined her, its compound eyes reflecting the starlight. "Your people have achieved something remarkable, Captain Chen," it said softly. "You've changed how the galaxy sees not just humanity, but itself. You've reminded us all of the power of diversity, of the strength that comes from embracing our differences rather than fearing them." Zara nodded, a smile playing on her lips. "Thank you, Ambassador, but this is just the beginning. We have so much more to learn, so much more to contribute." As they stood there, human and alien, looking out at the vast expanse of the galaxy, both felt a sense of hope and possibility. The future was uncertain, filled with challenges yet to be faced and wonders yet to be discovered. But they would face it together, a united galactic community strengthened by the very diversity that had once divided it. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not as conquerors or outsiders, but as friends, allies, and fellow explorers in the grand adventure of galactic civilization. The Deathworlders had become harbingers of life, of progress, and of a brighter future for all. As Harmony Station drifted through space, it lived up to its name more than ever before, a shining beacon of cooperation, understanding, and the boundless potential of life in all its forms. And at the heart of it all were the humans, once feared, now celebrated, ready to take their first steps into a larger universe. The story of humanity's integration into the galactic community was far from over. In fact, it had only just begun. But as Captain Zora Chen looked out at the stars, she knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them the way humans always had, with determination, adaptability, and an unwavering belief in the power of working together. the galaxy would never be the same, and that was a very good thing indeed.